So for steak, very easy, but if you can, and you can skip this, try to salt it quite liberally before you're going to cook it, and I would say 24 hours is even really good, and put it in the fridge. You also know some pepper, you can do pepper, but salt will make even a tough steak tender if you salt it 24 hours before. But this you can skip. Now, step 2 is actually more important than the salting. Take your steaks out of the fridge at least 15 minutes before you're going to cook them. Get them lower in temperature. A cold steak doesn't cook as well. Again, if pressed for time, you can skip it. This instruction is for the perfect steak, but if you skip those first 2 steps, you still get a pretty damn good steak. This one you can skip entirely. I find the marbling a little too much. Now, that's essentially fat and will make a very nice sweet taste, so you might want to leave it on. However, I find there's plenty of fat already on the other parts, and I tend to take off a big thick part. Many people just leave that on, especially if you're going to barbecue it. The fat renders and gives it flavor. In other words, it becomes a sauce that the steak cooks in. Now, believe it or not, as far as cooking goes, you're almost done. You can even skip this part, but I personally love this with the onions. So you need some soy sauce. You can skip the vinegar. You're going to need some vinegar. You're also going to need a bit of oil. Again, you can skip the oil, but most people have oil. You can use butter as well. Mince your own garlic. The fresher the better, but I have a jar of minced garlic. This is also something you can skip. Oh, sorry, ginger. That was garlic ginger, and this is garlic. Mustard and ketchup. Now, most barbecues, and brown sugar. Most barbecues have these flavors. Add a bit of cumin as well. You can add and mix anything you want. For instance, chipotle powder would be a fantastic marinade. Be pretty liberal with the liquids. So, for instance, I'm going to add quite a bit of soy, and soy has a lot of salt in it. So you don't have to add any salt. If you don't add vinegar, you want to add some other liquid to that, like water. But I'm going to add some vinegar. Quite a bit. Give it a tang. This is a rice wine vinegar, but you can use really any vinegar. Give your mustard a good shake. And you don't have to worry about the proportions. You can add a good amount of whatever you think will taste good. And I actually would add more mustard. You can add mustard powder as well. Same with your ketchup. Give it a good shake. And you can be generous with your ketchup, because ketchup is just vinegar, tomatoes, and sugar. I'm going to be also quite liberal with my brown sugar. Oh, onions goes good in there too. And just give it a shake. And so here goes garlic. I'm going to be very liberal with my garlic. You want to keep your garlic around as well. And finally, ginger. And you're done. Give it a good mix. This is going to go in with the onions, and a little bit of it's going to go in with the steak. Oh, and I'm going to add a pinch of cumin. You don't need to add salt, but you can add some pepper if you want. Or any sauces you want. Oh, one last note on that. Always taste it. For instance, soy dominates, ginger dominates. Don't put too much ginger in. Soy you can put too much in. And also cumin dominates, so just a little bit of powder at first. Right now this is too sour, so I'm going to add more brown sugar. If you don't have brown sugar, sugar's fine. But brown has molasses. Molasses is a common ingredient in barbecue. So like I said, throw anything together you want. The sauce that tastes good on the spoon will taste good on the steak. A lot of people marinate the steak overnight in their sauce, and it'll soak in for the first millimeter as well. That's really optional. Okay, now for the onions. Oil. Quite a bit of oil. Onions are best cooked low heat a long time. But if you don't have time, medium heat, and 20 minutes. In goes the onion. Now, to help caramelize the onions a little bit, give them a nice sweetness, and just a little bit, not too much, a little bit of sugar. Now cook about 20 minutes. Keep moving once in a while. Now I want to emphasize you can't really go wrong with your onions, but it's at this time that you add some of your sauce. And you can be quite liberal with it. Lower your heat after this, but keep a little bit of sauce for your steaks. Now this part is important. You get your grill, your pan quite hot, and you add quite a bit of oil. Okay. And you want to get that oil hot but not smoking. So it's on high. And you want to get it hot. Because we're going to sear the steaks just very quickly on each side and all the edges. Okay, the oil's nice and hot. You don't leave it on long. It's just on long enough to brown the edges, like that. Some people like it a little bit more seared. Okay. Now we put that a little longer, just to show you. Okay. And we'll take it off almost right away. So lower the heat. I could have used a bit more. This one's good. Cut the edges. And then you take it off your heat. To your pan, add some butter, a bit of the onion mix, and the rest of your sauce. Turn your heat down to medium, or even medium low. And then we're going to cook it a minute aside. If you want it rare, minute aside 3 times. If you want it well medium, 4 times. While it's in there, you can get a big spoon and spoon the sauce on it. It's called basting. You tilt the pan and spoon it. But I don't have time for that. So in a minute, I'm just going to flip this. Now, here's the most important part. After you flip the steaks, a minute each side, 3 times each side, or 4 times if you like it medium rare, or 5 times if you like it well done. You must take your steak out of your pan and let it rest for at least 5 minutes. Very important. You can also let your sauce keep cooking to thicken a little. You can also add flour, a little bit of flour to your sauce if you want it to thicken. Those steaks are going to rest. And then you're done. And there you go. Mom likes hers medium to medium rare, and that's perfect. And the other steaks look great.